Hey Facebook friends, Chef Chris, and tonight, look what we're cooking. Look at that. What you're seeing is the beginnings of French onion soup. And it's one of my favorites to make. I love French onion soup. Number one, because I can eat soup very well. These days, I gotta be careful what I can and can't eat, right? Ingredients in the soup come down to this. And then once we cook this down, we're gonna cook all the onions down and get them browned. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour. It takes a little bit of time to brown onions all the way down like this. But you wanna do it slow. You wanna do it slow. Rest of the ingredients after the browning process. Brandy. We're gonna put our brandy in there, and that'll deglaze the onions, and then we'll put in our beef stock. And then, gotta have this, French bread. We'll take our French bread, and we'll make French bread toast, not French toast. And then we'll do that in the oven. And then we'll put it in the ramekins with the soup, put the cheese on top, pop it in the oven, and let the broiler do its work. And basically just melt that cheese all the way down on it, and man, is it goodness. So that's what we're after tonight. So when the onions get done, we'll be back to follow up and show you the next process. Hope you're having a great night tonight. So we're now getting there, and you can see, if it hasn't fogged up the camera, how the onions are starting to brown. Do you see this? See the browning? And there's a lot more that's going to take place. There's not much liquid left down on the bottom. We started with 1 ounce of butter, and then all of this liquid that was in there before that you're now seeing starting to go away was from the onions. See how brown they're starting to get? But as this liquid goes down, obviously, we're going to start having more and more browning of these onions. And then I want to get them brown enough to where obviously they're all soft and brown, and it needs deglazed off the bottom. And that's where our brandy will come in. And of course, we'll do that next after we do get to a point where all the browning process is done. So far, we've got 1 ounce of butter that we started with, 2 tablespoons, if you will. Of course, we put in 2.5 onions is what I cut up. Actually, I cut these a little larger than I normally do. You probably want to do them julienne. If you've never made this before, it'll help you out as far as your soup consistency is concerned. However, I want these a little bit bigger this time. It's the first time I've ever done this, and I just think that it just gives you a little bit more of a chunky onion inside, but it'll be soft enough to where it'll be absolutely delightful. And then, of course, the brown stock will, of course, help cook them down even further. The only thing I might do is, I think I'm going to keep the chunks that big. What I might do is use a chopper and then chop them up into a little bit more bite-sized bits to make it a little bit easier as far as eating is concerned. So that's kind of where we are right now. Okay, as you can see, look how nice and brown those are getting. And there's not much liquid left as we're continuing to cook it down, okay? I have chopped up a few of the onions, which is not too bad. Most of them I'm going to leave just like it is. And we're going to continue to cook this to a point to where it's consistent brown all the way through all of the onions. And then, but we don't want to burn them. And we don't want a bunch of char or anything like that on the bottom of the pan. When we're talking about deglazing, we're just talking about rehydrating the bottom with the brandy for flavoring. That's all we're going to do. And then once we get that ounce done and let it cook and glaze the pan, then what we're going to do is that we'll start adding our stock. Okay, so we're going to put in about an ounce here on the bottom of the pan. let that alcohol get down in there and cook and deglaze that bottom of the pan good and bring that flavor back in too, along with the brandy, right into the onions. And you heard it calm back down again because that glazing is starting to take effect. Now we're going to put just a little bit more in there, and some for the chef. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll let that glaze and cook that alcohol out of there and get that flavor back in there. Okay, it's now incorporated into the onions and looking real good. And man, it smells so good. That sweetness of that brandy into those onions and deglazing the bottom of the pan and back and rehydrating those onions. Oh my gosh. Woo, good stuff, good stuff. Okay, so what I went ahead and done is I've added our stock, and I put in a 2-pound box or 32 ounces, just a standard box. I try to get as low a sodium as possible, sometimes no salt. Swanson makes good no salt stock. Now, not when I'm making my French onion soup though, because I have to get a little sodium in there, and I'm not going to add it on my own. I did get a stock this time that was low fat, but it's not low salt. And I'm going to let this simmer down. We'll have some of those salt flavors come through as it's cooking down. It'll get a little thicker, and we'll do some taste tests along the way. And then when we get it to that point, it'll take about 20-30 minutes. And when we come back, we'll show you the consistency of the soup. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our French bread and slice it up, and we're going to put that in the oven and toast it. And that would become our bread squares that we're going to put in the ramekins, put our cheese on top, and then, of course, the rest of the process is all up to the broiler. Okay. Our soup is still simmering. And in the meantime, what I've done is I made a peach pannycoken. Check this out. Oh, my gosh, look at that. I'll post a picture of it for you here in just a little bit online. There's nothing like a pannycoken. You can make them so fast, so easy. You put about any fruit in them, apples, peaches. Put peaches in it. Pannycoken goes with the rest of the ingredients, the cinnamon and everything. Tastes very similar to a on top of the stove versus pancake in the oven and out in 12 minutes. And it kind of tastes like a cobbler. It's really good. Anyway, back to the Francois soup. While all that was going on, and I was simmering my onion soup to cook it down a little bit more, and we're still doing that, what I had the chance to do was take my French bread and cut it down into slices. And now what we'll do is we're going to pop that in the oven in the broiler. We're going to toast our bread, and I used a basket because I want the airflow to go all the way through. I want these to really dry out, because when I put it in the soup, I want it to really absorb that broth and get inside there. So we'll do that, and then of course we'll come out, and I think our soup will be just about ready to pour in the ramekins. We'll put our toast on top, put our cheese, and then of course the finale when it all melts down. That's so good. Okay, we've popped our bread in the oven. It's been in there about, I guess, maybe about a minute and a half at the most under the broiler. And voila, we have toast. And it looks really good too. So we're going to put this in the back here. And I'm going to come around here. I'm going to leave the broiler on. And then it's time to add our soup. And we'll put our bread in. And then our cheese on top. So let's go ahead and put the soup in real quick. Now, Teresa, she's elected to have a little less on the soup because she had pannycoken, and she's not quite as hungry. So see what they said about that, boys and girls? Mom and Dad was right. If you eat your dessert before your main course, you won't want to eat all your supper. So she's elected to have a smaller cup. That's why there was 2 different cups when you looked over here, as far as the ramekins are concerned. So we'll add mine. Normally, you use the traditional cheese would be Gruyere cheese. And Gruyere cheese I don't have, and I didn't want it anyway because I just think it's preference of the individual as far as what kind of cheese that you put on top. And Teresa and I both love Havarti. Now Havarti cheese is very delicate cheese and it melts very quickly and very easily. So you gotta be careful if you're gonna use Havarti cheese under a broiler because it will go pretty quick. So we'll put that on hers. I've elected to use Swiss. I love Swiss, especially baby Swiss. And I do have some, but I would elected to just do the Swiss. But what we're gonna do first is we're gonna take our bread. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to break the bread, just like that, and we'll put it right on top. And that bread will get down in there and soak up that broth really nice. Now, I want a little more bread because I like that flavor in that bread when it's toasted. It is so delightful. Very good. We'll take our cheese and we'll put that on top. There's hers. And here is mine. Okay, and I put this in a pan so that when that cheese melts, it doesn't get all over the oven. All right, we'll pop that in the oven, just underneath the broiler. And this won't take long at all. Wait till your cheese is nice and bubbly and it's, you know what it does. I'll be right back. It's been about 30 seconds. I want you to check this out. Already, 30 seconds. Look at the cheese like I told you. Remember I told you about the Havarti cheese? Look at this. Versus, now granted, I used 2 slices on mine to her 1, but doesn't make any difference. That Havarti goes very quick when you put it underneath anything hot. Salamander, they call it the melt sometimes in some restaurants. Broiler, basically. But it goes very quick. So when you do that, just be careful. I'm gonna go eat. That looks really good. Enjoy. Have a great night. Bye-bye.